Welcome to a live stream for Game Week 30, and yeah, it's been a long time, and hopefully we aren't too rusty. But yeah, this international break has been very good just to discharge, and I have to say thank you to everyone who sent me birthday messages yesterday, really appreciate it. But let's get down to your questions, to all of your problems, and I'll discuss my team in some detail. We'll wait and see with that, but I have made one transfer, and I actually did it after the price rises today. I did it very late. I don't want to say the time exactly, but it is what it is. Thank you everyone who is here, and let's go through your questions. Lam Calvin says, personally, I'm bench boosting, and I always highlighted Game Week 30 as one of those game weeks where, yeah, it's not a double game week, but still a lot of good fixtures for a lot of highly owned assets, and it makes sense to bench boost, I guess. So if you're not looking to bench boost in one of these smaller double game weeks like 35, or even for some teams like Spurs in Game Week 32, then I think 30 is a great opportunity. Lipok says, Rudiger, Dallas, Shaw, Stones, Cancelo, start free. Very tough. I'd definitely start Rudiger. I'd start Dallas, and from the other three, it's literally, I'd say, between Cancelo and Shaw. I'd probably start Cancelo, but then again, United are capable of keeping that clean sheet against Brighton, so it's a tough one, but I'd definitely start the first two. Rudiger or Soufal, whom to start? I'd definitely start Rudiger, Data, definitely. Marcus says, start 2, bench 1, Gundogan, Lingard and Watkins. I'd start Lingard, and this is tough. Normally I'd say Gundogan, no hesitation, but I'm not entirely sure if he's going to start the game. Because of all the internationals he has played, and he's been very good for Germany. I'd still go for Gundogan, but very tough. Marcus says, hello Dylan, a non-FPL question. Who would be your Lewandowski replacement in UCL Fantasy? Already have Mbappe and Haaland. I've got the same situation. I mean, a lot of people are. Lewandowski's a highly owned asset, and now he's injured for a month. I'm tempted to say Neymar, and I might actually go for him myself. He is back. He should be getting a game, I think, today, into the starting lineup to get that match fitness up. But otherwise, I think Benzema might be a very good one. I'll be honest, I look at the options elsewhere, like Werner. Not really feeling it. Obviously, Firmino's injured. I'm not too sure about many of them. So I'd say at the moment, Neymar or Benzema. But I will be doing more research into that and see who is the best asset. Ismail says, first 11, Martinez, Creswell, Dallas, Digne, Mount, Bale, Salah, Rafinha, Kane, Bamford, Watkins, bench, Cancelo, Soucek and Burn. Wildcarding next week anyway. 2.2 million in the bank. Best transfer option. To be honest, I'd probably say getting a Chelsea defender for this game week, because you have a lot of great assets anyway. You've got that triple Leeds, which is fair enough for this game week. It's looking very good. It's looking, yeah, I'd have to say a Chelsea defender. And the problem is, like, who would you start him over? So to be honest, you're fine with the team you have, but if you want, maybe get a Chelsea defender like Alonso or Azpilicueta. And yeah, bench Watkins. That's what I'd probably say. And speaking of Chelsea defenders, I had a dilemma. Obviously, I am wildcarding soon, whether it's game week 31, 32, 33, but definitely in one of those weeks, I'd say. And I had the dilemma of Azpilicueta or Alonso. I ended up going with Azpilicueta just for that consistency. And in every game that they've started together, Alonso's only outperformed them in 2 games. And that's mainly because Azpilicueta gets a yellow or something like that. And I'm just very, very impressed with the points returns for Cesar Azpilicueta since Tuchel has come in. And his record against West Brom, this is something that maybe I shouldn't look at too much, but very, very good record. Even got an assist earlier this season against West Brom. And in 12 appearances, he has 2 goals and 3 assists. And that's not counting fantasy assists. So Azpilicueta is looking very good for this game week. So is Alonso, no doubt about it. There is still that little question mark whether he will start. I do think he will. But you never know, nonetheless, with Thomas Tuchel, with his rotation policy. And as for my bench, this looks very weird, I know. I've got Pope, Antonio, Bale and Stones. I could easily bench boost that team. And I'll be honest, I'm not really comfortable with benching them. I've got a little dilemma, I guess, of maybe starting Cancelo, Digne or Antonio. But I probably will end up going with this. And once again, talking about records, in 9 appearances against Wolves, Antonio has never scored. However, this could be the 10th time lucky. No doubt about it, but I'm just not sure about that. And then with Bale, I know it's a bit weird to have him on the bench. If he does start, he'll probably do very well. Even if he comes on for like 30 minutes, he could easily do something against Newcastle. But I don't know. I don't have a great feeling about him. I just can't wait to get rid of him. He's a big headache. And yeah, it's just all those comments from Mourinho. The way they played against Aston Villa, which it wasn't spectacular, but they were decent. They were solid. And I just don't see a way for Gareth Bale to get into that team. He still could, maybe with good training, a good mentality, but Not entirely sure about that. And then John Stones third sub. I mean, that is criminal, isn't it? But yeah, just not a way to find to get him in, and Leicester is a tough opponent. But that's my little recap of kind of the transfers that I've made, or the transfer, and my bench and team selection headaches. And there's definitely plenty of them to come. What's up, Dylan? How you doing? Thank you, Moshe. I'm doing very well. What about you? Yeah, Gundogan and Links for sure. Yeah, I agree, Arnab. Should I start a Bamyang or Lingard? I'd start Lingard, MSK. Bamyang's a weird one. I mean, maybe with that Travis Scott haircut, maybe he'll do something, but I don't know. Yeah, I'd probably start Lingard. Welcome, Kobe. Thank you for joining in, and all the best of luck. Okay, let's see. More are loading in now. Morning, Dylan. Welcome, Chris El Famoso. Appreciate you being here. Mickey, morning, Dylan. Hope you are well. Which three to start from these defences? Stones, Diaz, Rudiger, Soufal, and Strauch. Oh, Strauch is an interesting one. Will he start? I'm not too sure, but I'd definitely go with Rudiger. No doubt about it. I'd start one of Diaz or Stones. Diaz is more likely to start, but Stones maybe has a bit more potential if he is actually playing. Yeah, and I'd probably go for Strauch, and if he doesn't play, then Soufal should come on. Hell yeah, finally some club football. Yeah, you said it. I mean, internationals, I normally like them, especially when there's World Cup qualifiers in South America, but yeah, this was pretty awful. I know there was kind of a few moments which are kind of stand out, like the Ronaldo goal, which wasn't given somehow. But yeah, it was a very boring international break. I would wildcard next week. Will I lose my free transfer if I don't use it? It doesn't matter if you have 0 transfers, so as in you use a transfer, use 1 or 2. Yeah, you're always going to end up with 1 transfer going into a week after a wild card. And obviously, if you make a transfer, but then you use your wild card, that transfer is still going to stick, but you're still only going to have 1 free transfer going into the next week. Hopefully that explains it. Arnab says, hey Dylan, how should I order my bench? It's Stones, Watkins and White. White would definitely be third sub, so it's between Stones and Watkins. I'd probably, just because of the fixture, although Fulham are decent, I'd probably put Watkins first. But that's a tough one. But yeah, Ben White, definitely third sub. And now that I say that, watch him score. Strauch, or can I call you that? He says, hey man, Creswell or Target, who to start? I think Target is more likely to keep a clean sheet, but Creswell is way more likely to get an attack in return. So that's a tough one. If you have Martinez already, or should I say Martinez, then go for Creswell. Otherwise, yeah, I'd go for Target. If you had Bale, Son and Kane, would you still captain Kane, or is it too much eggs in one basket and captain Bruno? Yeah, that's a great point you raised there, Asiraf. So the way I was looking at it, because I have Bale myself, is if I started Bale too, and I had Kane, Son and Bale, captaining Kane or either one of them, I'm just not entirely sure about that, and I'd probably go for Bruno. So in your case, yeah, if you have all 3 of them, you're going to start all of them. I'd probably maybe be a bit more tempted to go to Bruno, because you're basically essentially quadrupling on that Spurs attack, which, yeah, it's been pretty decent recently, but it's nothing spectacular. Sometimes they can be nullified. And Newcastle, obviously it depends on how the team's set out on the day, but they might not be as easy as we think. And having said that, I'm having a bit of a dilemma myself between 3 players in terms of captaincy: Bruno, Rafinha and Kane. Don't discount Bamford. He's on penalties. He's got a point to prove of England. So he's another one. Even Heung-min Son. We always talk about Kane, but what about Son? And then remember game week 26 it was. Son did very well in the first game of that double game week. So it's a tough one. Just what is Champman FPL? Do you know? I'm not too sure. I think it's like a retro style FPL where they kind of simulate games. So if you pick a player, games are simulated and you get points depending on that. I've never played it, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. Maybe someone in the chat can, but I think it's something like that. Hopefully I'm not too far off. Aranya says, is it worth getting Rudiger in for Soufal? I got 1 free transfer and I'll be wildcarding in Game Week 31. My team is Martinez, Rudiger, Dallas, Digne, Bruno, Lingard, Bale, Rafinha, Bamford, Antonio and Kane. Soufal could still get a clean sheet against Wolves, or he could even get an assist, but I think Rudiger is just more nailed on to get that, and he could even get some bonus points. So I think it is worth it. It's also a long-term move. With Soufal or even a Creswell, depending on if you want to get West Ham assets, yeah, you're probably going to be expecting the clean sheets from Game Week 34 onwards with them. So I think it's a good move, in my opinion. Who do you think I should captain, Rafinha, Bruno or Kane? I'll be honest, I have the exact same dilemma. So, look, I'll be honest, if there wasn't so much uncertainty with Rashford, with Martial, with Greenwood in terms of injuries and stuff like that, I'd probably be captaining Bruno. Also, if they had a bit more form behind them, because he has a very good record against Brighton, 3 goals and 1 assist in 2 games, and obviously 2 double-digit returns across those. And I don't know, with Bruno, yeah, form might not be there, but he tends to produce every 2-3 games. And the stats aren't exactly there. If you look at stats over the last few game weeks, then Kane is the clear winner out of those 3 players. But then you look at in terms of opponents, Rafinha and Kane definitely have the best ones. But Newcastle at home are actually one of the better defences in recent times. So it's not entirely simple. And then you look at each team, and you'd have to say United are the best offensively. And Leeds, although they may not be as good offensively as Tottenham, they would still keep on going to try to score more goals. With Spurs, sometimes they could be 1-2-0 up and they'll just be happy with that. They'll settle, and that's not ideal for an FPL manager. So, very tough one. I think if you're a form person, I'd go for Kane. And also, he does have that fixture behind him. But, yeah, otherwise, I don't know. I just have a feeling about Bruno, but I'm just not entirely sure. With the amount of injuries around him and doubts, I'm just not entirely sure. And also Pogba coming back in, that will kind of change the way Bruno plays in that United team. So it's a tough one. But at the moment, I'm going for Kane. But I'll be honest, it's very, very tough. And this is a good week to captain a Rafinha or a Bamford, in my opinion. Or even a Son, who, yeah, he's highly owned, but he won't be highly captained. Got rid of Son, says Lipuk. 5 million in the bank. Got Jota, Rice, Rafinha, Bale, Fernandes, Bamford, Kane, and DCL. Where should I invest the money? I'll be honest, in Rice, because I know he's on penalties. He might even score one this week, but in general, you just want someone more reliable than Rice, who's you're mainly going to be relying on those penalties. So, yeah, I'd probably try to upgrade Rice. You've got Jota, Rafinha, Bale, and Fernandes. I mean, Bale's another one where long term, you could get rid of him, to be fair, after this game week, I'd say. So, yeah, I'd use that 5 million to invest in upgrading Rice and Bale, in my opinion. And you could even get a De Bruyne for Bale. And in terms of replacing Rice, tough one. Mahrez, if you don't go for De Bruyne, or even Mason Mount. I know he's very popular at the moment, although I'll be honest, I'm not really feeling Chelsea attack. Gundogan, Watkins, and Stones, start one. I'd probably start Watkins, but this is the only game week I'm going to say that, to be honest. Bale to Son for a free transfer. I'd say, yeah, Chris El Famoso. I know it sounds weird, but I just back Son to do more than Bale. He'll probably start. And with Bale, I just don't have that certainty. So, yeah, I'd definitely do that. Is it risky having both City defenders on the bench because all my other defenders have good fixtures? Well, that's the thing. It's always a risk with City because they're capable of keeping a clean sheet against anyone. So, yeah, I'd probably say it's risky, of course, but if you have a Chelsea defender, if you have Dallas and all these other players who can do well, then there's not much more you can do. The way I look at it, it's very tough for me. It's between Cancelo and Antonio probably to start, but at the moment I'm going Cancelo, and that covers that City clean sheet pretty well. But it is Leicester. Let's remember that, and Leicester are capable of scoring a goal or two against City. Lucas says, "Hi Dylan, how are you feeling? I wish you all the best for this game week. I have an Instagram and YouTube channel called Hope_FPL. Please, can you follow me on Instagram and give me a shout?" Well, there is your shout out, and thank you for joining in. And appreciate the good comment. Yeah, and good luck with your channel. Wanja says, "Hi Dylan, Lacazette or Salah?" I'd probably still say Salah, but Lacazette has definitely shown the better form, and he's looking very, very good. But yeah, in terms of starting one of them or captaining, I'd probably still go for Salah. Super South says, "Bench one from Diaz, target Jota." That's tough. I'd probably say Diaz, but yeah, very, very tough one. Lucas says, "What do you think as a risk for Calvert-Lewin for captaincy this week as a differential?" It's a risk, of course. Every captaincy is a risk, though, in a way. Me captaining Kane, anything that Bruno does now, he's going to now just basically drop my rank the more he does something, and vice versa. But yeah, with Calvert-Lewin, I think he's a good differential this week. And Palace, they concede a lot of headed attempts. Calvert-Lewin is very good at scoring headers. And Palace in general are just one of the worst teams. If you had to make a list of like the teams to target, Sheffield United, Newcastle, West Brom, and you'd have to say Palace are up there in terms of teams to target. I mean, you look at Kane's performance the other week. I know it's Kane, but he got 19 points against them. I'm not sure if Calvert-Lewin will reach those heights, but he could definitely chip in with a goal or two. So I think that's a very good differential. If I had him, I would actually consider him, although maybe I wouldn't go for it myself. I think he is a good option, no doubt about it. Good morning, Dylan. What's your opinion about Sterling, eventually Salah or KDB as a replacement? Asked Christian. I'll be honest, I'm not even feeling Salah or KDB at the moment too much. However, because of that Leeds fixture in Game Week 31, I'd say KDB. The reason why I say I don't feel KDB too much, don't get me wrong, I think so long as he plays, he'll do well. But the deeper that City get into the Champions League, and obviously with the FA Cup coming up, if they reach the final in that too, the Carabao Cup, I'm just not entirely sure about De Bruyne starting as many minutes as we would like in the Premier League, or City showing as much intensity, which is obviously what we need for Kevin De Bruyne to thrive. So it's a tough one. With Salah, I'd kind of wait and see. I know the fixtures are very good up until the rest of the season, but you could always go for Jota instead and save those millions and then invest it elsewhere. But yeah, from those two at the moment, I'd say De Bruyne as a short-term move, but long-term, yeah, you'd have to say Salah's the better one. Luke Shaw for a -4. I'd probably say no, because I'm not entirely sure if they're going to keep a clean sheet against Brighton, no pun intended. But yeah, Luke Shaw is definitely someone I'm looking at for my team, and he's looking very good, but not yet for me. But yeah, I wouldn't take a -4 for him. Only a free transfer. Harry says, Cresswell or Cancelo, and who do I captain out of Bruno and Kane? Asks Harry. With the Bruno and Kane one, I'll try to simplify it for you. If you have Son and Kane, and Bale, then yeah, I'd go for Bruno, because you already basically have a 4-man Spurs attack. Otherwise, yeah, I'd maybe go for Kane. I think Kane is less likely to blank, but I don't know, there's something about Bruno. I think he's maybe got the highest ceiling. I don't know why. It is Brighton, but he's got a very good record against them. Hey Dylan, hope you had a nice break. Would you take a hit for a Chelsea defender punt this week? Currently got Stones, Cancelo, Dallas, Soufal bench, likely wildcard next week. Thank you for your comment, really appreciate it, and hopefully you've had a great break. I wouldn't take a hit. I mean, Alonso or Azpilicueta are interesting because they also have that attacking potential, and they can get the bonus points, and you could even captain them, and believe it or not. Would you take a hit for an Alonso or Azpilicueta for a 1-week punt? Probably, you know what, I would consider it, especially Alonso. But that could easily backfire. That's the problem. If Alonso doesn't start, you take a -4 for him, it's disastrous. So I think it is worth it, but you have to calculate that risk. And yeah, if they don't get that attacking return, it most likely won't be, it's not going to be worth it. But yeah, it might be worth the risk. Undershot, Fugu says, hi, Mendy, Pope, Target, Alonso, Cresswell, Cancelo, Dallas, Son, Lingard, Fernandez, Gundogan, Rafinha, Antonio, Kane, captain, Bamford. I'm playing bench boost. Wildcard round 31. Thoughts? That looks very good, to be fair. Trying to point out a weakness. I'd say long term, I'd probably get rid of Pope, either downgrade or maybe get another keeper like Edison. Obviously, if you have enough slots when it comes to making the transfers. But other than that, not much. Obviously, when Game Week 31 happens, just obviously with Spurs assets, remember that they do have Man United, but then straight after they've got the double game week and then they blank. So it's kind of mixed bag for Spurs. And then with Leeds United, they have 3 very poor fixtures in a row. So I just bear those things in mind when wildcarding. And probably I'd also consider getting rid of the likes of Target. But for now, that looks very good. Bench Cresswell, Lingard or Watkins. I'd probably bench Cresswell, and if not Watkins, I'd definitely start Lingard, but maybe not. If you had Gundogan in your team, would you start him, says Mickey? I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe over Cancelo, I'll say that, but I don't know if he's going to start. That's the problem, but you know what, I might. If I had him, I probably would start him over Cancelo. Bamford, Grealish, Antonio, pick 2, Dylan, says Ethan. I'd say Bamford and Grealish. Yeah, definitely Bamford, and I'd probably go for Grealish. Bring in Lingard or Neto. Ooh. So let's see. Who do Wolves play? West Ham. Yeah, but the Wolves have very good fixtures from game weeks 32 to 35. That's a tough one. I still prefer Lingard as an asset overall, but for the next few weeks, in terms of fixtures, and yeah, Neto looks better, but I do prefer Lingard. Hey Dylan mate, happy birthday again, hope you enjoyed it. Thoughts on my Alonso punt before wildcard 31. Thank you Marco, really appreciate it. And yeah, Alonso punt is very good. I mean, I think him or Azpilicueta, it's very difficult to predict who's going to score or assist if any of them do that. But yeah, I think Alonso's a great punt. Probably one of the best punts on paper that we've seen this season, but you never know. I mean, last time that he faced West Brom, he got -1 point, but these things can happen. but I do think he's going to get at least 6 points if he starts. It's my first season playing FPL, and up till now, I still don't get this. What benefits does a higher squad value bring? I mean, it is a bit overrated, having a very high squad value, but essentially it enables you to get as many premium assets as possible. You can get a Salah and a Kane and maybe a De Bruyne, and you can have some very high premium assets in defense and in goal. And also, in a way, in a season like this, maybe it's a bit more important than it normally is, because having an important, or should I say, a strong bench is very crucial, because sometimes a player might miss out, there might be a rotation, a lot of injuries are happening, so having a strong bench is important. So that's where the squad value comes in. But yeah, it is overrated, and in years gone by, having a high squad value doesn't really mean much, to be honest. Chelsea Blue says, I got Aspi for Cancelo before international break, and now everyone is getting him. Yeah, I mean, he's a good option. I mean, what can we say? He's got the most points of any player since Tuchel has come in, at least from any defender, and with good reason. So many clean sheets. He's got a bit of attacking potential in him as well. I think he scored against Burnley in, I think, the first home game for Tuchel. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a good option. If I do donk out for Rudiger, then which three should I start? I have Rudiger, Target, Soufal, Wan-Bissaka, and Cancelo, or should I save a free transfer instead? To be honest, you have a strong team anyway, so you don't have to do it. But Rudiger would be the most likely to get a clean sheet out of anyone there. And if you do get him in, I'd start Rudiger, Target, and probably Cancelo. But if not, you have Wan-Bissaka there. 7 must-have wildcard players. Good question, Kumar. I would probably say, I mean, I don't want to say generic ones like Bruno or Kane, but I'd say a Chelsea defender or two. That would definitely be one of them, and that includes Mendy in goal if you want. So you could have Mendy or Rudiger or Azpilicueta. So I'd say one of those three at least. I would aim to have 2. That's my opinion. Other than that, let's actually have a look. I mean, I did have a wildcard team, didn't I? I'd say Jota. I don't know about must-have or essential. I wouldn't put those kind of tags on most players, but Jota would be a very good one that I'd keep an eye on. I'd say a West Ham. You know, I'd actually say Cresswell, Luke Shaw in terms of the defenders, and one of Lingard or Antonio. Doubling up, I'm not too sure, but having one of them at least, yeah, I'd go for it. And then a Leicester asset like Maddison or Iheanacho, or even Jamie Vardy. He has kind of gone under the radar. I haven't really talked about him too much. He hasn't been great, but still a great asset. He's got very good fixtures coming up where he could easily do very well. So those are the sort of players I'd be looking at. Trying to think of any more. I mean, there definitely will be some. I mean, with Man City, it's difficult. Maybe an Edison, maybe a Diaz, but I don't know about essential, you know. And with the amount of rotation they're going to do, just not feeling it with them. But yeah, I mean, the ones you kind of already know, like Kane and Bruno, I'd definitely aim to have them. With Villa, it's very difficult because they have very poor fixtures after this. So I'm not really feeling them either. Not even Grealish or Martinez. Nah, not for me. So yeah, those are the sort of assets I'd be looking at. Hopefully that does help you. And I am going to make a best wildcard team for Game Week 31 because I know a lot of you will be wildcarding in that time. I might do it myself. Of course, I want to keep my options open. Ismail says, start 3 out of Digne, Cresswell, Aspi, Cancelo, Dallas. Aspi, Dallas, and Digne, I'd say. But if you're not really too confident Everton defence, which to be fair, neither am I, you could just go for Cancelo or Cresswell. But I'd definitely start Azpilicueta and Dallas, no doubt about it. Aranya says, why are you playing 4 defenders and benching Antonio when Wolves are defensively very weak and Cancelo may not be able to keep the clean sheet this week, or like every week, may not even start? Well, just the kind of thinking behind this is that I cover this City clean sheet if they do get one. I don't want to obviously double up. That's why I've got Stones on the bench. With Antonio, he's got a very poor record against Wolves. Even when they won 4-0, he didn't score. Not everything's about records. Records are there to be broken anyway. He could easily score here, but I don't know. I also have Lingard already to cover that West Ham attack, so it's a bit more balance in my team. You know, I cover City, I cover West Ham. By having Lingard and Antonio, I put too much, and this is kind of a different move. I'm not, being different just for the sake of being different. But I don't know. I just have a feeling about Cancelo. It's a gut feeling more than anything. But I do have a few reasons behind it, which I've already explained. But yeah, I'll be honest. I'm not entirely comfortable with benching these players. I mean, look at that. Stones, Bale, Antonio and Pope on the bench. They could easily get 20 plus points. But it is what it is, and hopefully on a wild card, my bench will be slightly weaker than that. Salah or Lingard, whom to start? Oh, jeez. I mean, I wouldn't bench either of them. I'd probably go for Salah. I have a feeling he's going to do something in this week, but yeah, I wouldn't bench Lingard either, I'll be honest. Hey Dylan, how's it going? Who do you recommend I start, Wan-Bissaka or Cresswell? Good luck, mate. Thank you, Jose. I think Wan-Bissaka's more likely to keep a clean sheet, but I don't know. I have a feeling about Cresswell, so I'll go for him. Why are you not starting Bale, Dylan? Because I don't think he's going to start, and if he doesn't, and Spurs need a goal or something like that, he's going to come on, and the potential for him to do very well is going to be limited severely. Obviously, he could still do something, even in the space of 10 to 30 minutes, but just not really feeling it. Also, I've already got Kane and I've got Son, and if I captain Kane, I cover Spurs pretty well. And also, I look at the way that they played against Aston Villa. I look at Jose Mourinho's comments after the Europa League exit, after the Arsenal game, and after the Villa game, and he seemed very, very happy with his team after that Villa game where they had players who would run back, they'd track back. In the Europa League game, a lot of the goals came down Bale's side. He didn't really offer any support to the right back, and he did the same thing against Arsenal, to be fair. So yeah, I'm not really feeling it. All those comments as well from him and from Jose Mourinho, it doesn't fill me with confidence. And yeah, having Son and Kane already kind of mitigates the risk, but yeah, it is a risk. Bench a City defender or target Dallas? I'd definitely start Dallas, so it'd be between target and a City defender, and yeah, I'd probably go for target. I'd start him, but if you already have Martinez in goal, then maybe just go for the City defender. Genius Gamer says, I have Kane, Son and Bale. Should I captain Bruno? Ooh, yeah, having all three of them. So if I started Bale myself, I would be captaining Bruno or Rafinha or even Bamford. I wouldn't want to captain Kane and triple up on Spurs attack. I've done that already, and it turned out very badly. Good from a personal view because Arsenal won, but yeah, FPL wise it went badly, so I'd probably do that. Will Marja play? I think so. I mean, obviously there is this kind of thing about Marja with Scott Parker talking about changing things up tactically depending on the opponent, but I do think he will. Jorginho or Son, who to start? I mean, definitely Son, no doubt about it. He's fit, he's ready to go, and he's the better asset. Lingard or Salah, whom to start? Yeah, I already answered your question, Philander, and I said Salah, but I'd try to start both of them. Bruno or Kane as captain, and why? Sandip. Well, I'd go for Kane just because he's less likely to blank. That's the way I see it. He's got the better form. He's got the better fixture on paper, despite how good Newcastle have been defensively at home compared to away from home. With Bruno Fernandes, I'd captain him if you have triple Spurs attack already. That's the way I would look at it. But otherwise, yeah, I'll be honest though, there's not much between them. You could captain either one of them and it could turn out to be very good. So, very tough one. With Bruno, he's got 3 goals in 2 games against Brighton and he's got an assist, 2 double-digit returns in 2 games. Kane has 5 goals in 12 assists in 12 games against Newcastle. And he actually scored twice last season at St James's Park. So they both can do very well. They can both get a double-digit return. I'm going with Kane, and if I had started Bale, I'd be going for Bruno. I know it sounds very weird, but that's just the way I'm looking at it this week. Hey Dylan, how are you? I'm very good, Marul. Thank you for asking, and hopefully you are good too. Will Gundogan and De Bruyne both start? Asks Ethan. I think De Bruyne is more likely to start out of the two. I think he's gotten a bit more rest as well. But yeah, will both of them start? Not entirely sure. Normally I'd say yeah, I think they would. But to be fair, considering it's Leicester, you know what, I think they will both start, but I'm not entirely sure about Gundogan. Ismail says, shall I bench boost Martinez, Cresswell, Dallas, Digne, Mount, Bale, Salah, Rafinha, Kane, Bamford, Watkins, Cancelo, Soucek, has to be Sanchez with a -4. To be fair, yeah, that looks good. Is that Sanchez from Brighton? Yeah, I mean, a few picks there like might blank. I could see a blank there, so maybe Soucek, Sanchez, who else? Bale, just because he's not going to start. So maybe the bench boost won't be optimal, but yeah, I'd say it's still a good one. If they all play, yeah, it could still do very well for you. But there is also Game Week 35, just to point you into that direction. There's Game Week 32, and there might be another smaller double game week along the way. So it's not like this is the be-all and end-all for bench boosts. But yeah, it's still a good one. Any player worth -4 this week? Good question. I'd say a Chelsea defender. I know it sounds weird, but Alonso or Azpilicueta. Son, if you don't have him already. Bruno Fernandes, because a lot of people got rid of him and now they're bringing him back in. So I'd say those sort of players. Kane, if you don't have him already. I'd probably say him. And then, Rafinha, Bamford, or Dallas. I think one of those players too. Other than that, nah, not for me. Start Cresswell or Diaz. Probably Cresswell because of the attacking potential. If it was Cancelo, then maybe I'd go for him. But yeah, Cresswell. Is it worth taking a hit to bring DCL for Watkins? I think it is worth it, or it could be worth it. Watkins, though, I don't know. It's just with Grealish back, Villa are going to be much better now. I'm sure of it. Fulham are decent, to be fair, but they can still be got at. I'd probably keep Watkins in your case, but it is worth taking a hit if you really back DCL to do well and if you're thinking of captaining him. How about Lord Maguire? Good to starting 11? Yeah. With Maguire, I'd probably start him. If I had him, I actually would, I'd probably start him over Cancelo. If not, it'd be a 50-50. I don't know. But, I think it is worth starting Maguire. Obviously, if you have to bench Chelsea or Dallas or stuff like that, then I'd reconsider. But, it depends on your team, I have to be honest. Thoughts on my free transfer this week? Bale to Mahrez for free transfer, asked Kobe. That looks very good. Mahrez scored a great goal against Leicester early in the season. He's the informed City attacker at the moment. And Bale is just a conundrum. We don't know what's going to happen with him. So, it looks good. Welcome, Addy. Thank you for joining in. Start 2, Digne, Saka, Lingard, Gundogan. I'd start Digne and Lingard, I think. Soufal or Bertrand Traore? I would probably start Soufal. I don't know, but Bertrand Traore maybe has the highest ceiling. Pick 2 to start, Digne, Cresswell or Target. I'd say Digne and Target, but if you have Martinez already, I keep on saying it, then I go for Cresswell. I wouldn't double up on Villa defence in this fixture. It could still work out, but still. Liam says, sell Stones for Azpilicueta. To be honest, this is a good move. And if you already have a City defender and you've got City cover anyway, it's fine. Azpilicueta is a good move this week. If you still had bench boost after the wildcard, how many City players would you include in your wildcard? Good question. To be honest, I wouldn't let that affect my thinking too much, depending on the bench boost anyway. On a wildcard, how many players am I aiming to have from City? Probably 2. The reason why I say that is because I also want to have Son and Kane for that Gameweek 32 fixture. So if I wildcard in 31, I'd want to have Son and Kane. And if I have 3 City players, then I could potentially have, just 9 players for Gameweek 33 when those two teams blank. So it's a tough one. But the bench boost wouldn't affect my thinking in terms of how many City players I'd try to have. So I'd say maybe 1 to 2 is what I'm going to aim for City assets for now anyway. And then maybe I can bring a third one in later in the season. Good question nonetheless. I have no Man City cover this week. Wish me luck. Good luck, David. I mean, to be fair, I've only got Cancelo. And if I do change my mind with Antonio or Bale starting ahead of him, then I'd also have neither. So it's very risky going without them. But, you can't have everyone. There's a lot of good access and options this week. Transfers are precious at the end of the season. Is there enough upside to do Martinez to Mendy? Not for this week, but long term. I mean, after this, the only game week where you'd want to have Martinez over Mendy is game week 33 when Villa have West Brom at home. Other than that, Mendy's probably going to outscore him most weeks. So I think there is enough upside, but not for this game week because Martinez has Fulham. I'd probably say do it next week. Start Target or Gundogan? Probably say Target, but only this game week really. Morning, start Cancelo or Bale? I mean, I'm going for Cancelo myself. With Bale, too many question marks. I don't think he's going to start. I think Mourinho's going to go with Lucas Moura instead, with Son and Kane. And I'm pretty sure Lamela should be back from his suspension as well. Start Gundogan or Antonio? Oh, that's a tough one. If I had both, I'd probably still go for Gundogan, but maybe I'm not giving Antonio enough credit. Out of curiosity, would you start any of Stones, Cancelo and Saka ahead of Gundogan, Antonio, Cresswell and even Salah? I wouldn't start Saka ahead of any of them, but Cancelo or Stones, but not Saka. Lingard or Antonio, I seem to be unable to bench either of them. I mean, I completely agree. I don't feel comfortable with doing that. And if you actually look at underlying stats, Antonio is the one you wouldn't want to bench. Lingard is heavily outperforming his stats. So it's a tough one. I'd probably just go for Lingard, but it's very tough. It's a 50-50 one. Antonio could now finally break his huge drought against Wolves. But they're both capable of doing big this week. Idle and sell Bale or keep for the double game week. I'll be honest, I'd probably still sell. I think Son and Kane is enough cover, especially if you have your triple captaincy available. You can triple captain Kane next week, or not next week, in game week 32. And to be honest, I think I'm going to do that. I haven't discussed that yet, but with the announcement that Spurs are going to have Everton and Southampton, two teams that Kane has a great record against, I think triple captaincy on Kane is nearly locked in. Obviously, I'll wait and see. There's going to be other double game weeks for other players, but yeah, that's what I would say. You could just get rid of Bale, triple captain Kane, or if not, just captain Kane and have Son, and you have enough cover there anyway. Watkins or Jota, who to bench? That's a tough one. I mean, if you're looking purely at the fixture, then I'd start Watkins and bench Jota, but yeah, that's a tough one. I'd probably go for Watkins. Yeah, both of them can do very well. Start me or Saka? Me or Saka? I mean, I think me is more likely to get a clean sheet than Saka is to get an assist or goal. I'd probably start me. Son or Bruno captain, no Kane in my team. Ooh, you know what? In your case, and maybe Son is going to be a bit of a differential captain for you, I'd probably captain Son. You cover Kane quite well there. If Kane does something, most likely Son's going to be involved. And to be fair, if Spurs play this 4-4-2 formation that they did, or something like that, against Aston Villa, imagine Son and Kane up front. And that would be pretty interesting, to be fair. But then again, that might mean that Bale starts. Who knows? But yeah, you know what? I'd be tempted to captain Son in your position. Not having Kane, I think it's good cover. But Bruno is a good captain nonetheless. No doubt about it. Bale to KDB or Bruno for a hit? I'd say Bruno. Just season keeper. He could even be captain this week. And yeah, I think Bruno's the one. Start Areola or McCarthy? Oh no, yeah, that's a tough one. I'd probably start. Nah, man, I don't know. I'd probably start McCarthy because of the opponent, but I don't trust Southampton defensively. Is it worth getting 2 Chelsea defenders with 2 free transfers? I'd say yeah, it is worth it, even with 2 free transfers. And if I had 2 free transfers myself, I'll be honest, I probably would have got Azpilicueta as I've already done, and I would probably get Alonso. But obviously going forward, in terms of Chelsea defenders to keep for the rest of the season, it'd be either Mendy in goal and Azpilicueta, or Azpilicueta and Rudiger. That's the way I see it. Thinking of starting 5 defenders: Dallas, Shaw, Aspi, Reguilon, Digne, then benching Watkins, Gundogan, Bale. I'll be honest, I probably would start Watkins over Reguilon. I agree with Dallas, Shaw, Azpilicueta. They look very good. And Digne, but I wouldn't start Reguilon over Watkins or Gundogan, or even Bale potentially. Should I play Forster over Martinez if I'm playing Konsa? Oh, I mean, if you had another keeper, like a Mendy or something like that, then I'd say start them. But with Forster, not too sure. I'd probably just go for Martinez. Loving this team. Thank you, Raul. Hopefully it does well. A lot of times I look at my team and I'm like, yeah, it's easy. It looks very good. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, the game isn't played on paper, unfortunately. My starting defenders are Dallas, Shaw and Rudiger, Cody and Walker-Peters on the bench. My formation consists of 3 defenders. Is my combination right? Good question. I'd say yes. I wouldn't bench any of those defenders for Cody and Kyle Walker-Peters, and I'm assuming your midfielders in attack is looking very good, Tony. So yeah, I like that. De Bruyne or Bale? De Bruyne, definitely for me. You would play Cancelo ahead of Creswell, Antonio or Gundogan? Don't have Lingard. This week, I probably would start Cancelo over Gundogan, and as I'm already doing right now, I am starting Cancelo over Antonio. Yeah, with Creswell, not entirely sure about that. That's a 50-50 one. But yeah, I would actually. Creswell or Lingard? Oh, damn, that's tough. Creswell or Lingard, Jesus. I'd start Lingard, but yeah, very tough. Both of them could easily haul. Bertrand Traore, Antonio or Cancelo? I would start either Antonio or Cancelo. It's up to you there, but I wouldn't start Bertrand Traore out of the 3. Hi Dylan, morning. Would you bench boost the following? Martinez, Stones, Gundogan, Lowton. On paper, I think I should. My only concern is Pep Roulette and Stones and Gundogan not playing. Yeah, I agree. I have a funny feeling that Stones might be benched and it will be Laporte and Diaz. Obviously, I don't know that. It depends. Like, if I kind of had an idea of what Pep is going to do in the Champions League, then I could do that. But what he does here can influence what happens in the Champions League. So it's a tough one. But yeah, it's still worth it, bench boosting that team. But if not, as I keep on saying, Game Week 35, Game Week 32, and there's even potentially another smaller double game week along the line. But yeah, I'd say that. Pope versus Southampton or Martinez versus Fulham? I mean, I'm going for Martinez, definitely. But Pope could do something, to be fair. And obviously, it's not ideal. You have two keepers who could do very well, but I'd start Martinez. Bale for Bruno. Yeah, I would sell Bale for Bruno, yeah, but I wouldn't do the other way. Dylan, love your content, a regular follower of your streams. How are you, mate? I'm struggling to field my best starting 11. Help me out. Thank you, Partha, for your comment. And yeah, when you comment down your team, I'll get back to you. Hey, Dylan, morning. Bench Watkins for Lingard. I have Martinez and Target in my team. And what about thoughts on Alonso? I still have my wild card. Yeah, if you already have your wild card, if you still have your wild card, then yeah, Alonso's a great punt for this game week. And I would expect him to start. In terms of your team, I would probably, in this instance, prefer Watkins over Target because you already have Martinez to cover that Villa defence. But yeah, that looks good anyway. Even if you end up benching Watkins, that looks good. Who to captain? I'm considering Son, KDB, Rafinha and Mount. From those four you mentioned, Rafinha and Son stand out the most, I'll be honest. Not really feeling the other two, so I'd look for those two. Not sure about De Bruyne or Mount. Bench Gundogan or Lingard. In this game week, I'd probably bench Gundogan, but normally I'd just start him. Who should I play, Target or Dallas? Dallas definitely, Akil. Also, between Grealish or Son, I'd bench someone else, I'll be honest. I wouldn't bench any of them, but yeah, if I had to pick between those two, I'd pick Son, but I wouldn't bench either one of them. What are your thoughts on the Twitter debates by Az on FPL managers only choosing their captain because they are scared of EO rather than they think their player will score the most points? Yeah, I've seen a lot of debate about that on Twitter, everywhere, to be honest, and it's an interesting one. I mean, he has a point to a degree. Some people actually do that, and I say that, and I'm captaining one of the most heavily captained players this week, but it is a thing. Some people actually just look at it and think, oh, if I captain this guy or if I don't captain this guy, anything he does is going to punish me. But I think that shouldn't be the main factor when deciding your captain. So I agree with them in that sense. But a lot of people will just go with the sensible or kind of no-brainer captain. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of victim of that a lot of the time. Or should I say I'm a perpetrator. But yeah, you know what? Sometimes it's just, you look at someone like Kane against Newcastle, he's got the form as well. And you just think, yeah, I'm just going to captain him. And he's going to be the most heavily owned captain or second most. But at the end of the day, you just have to pick your captain. And I probably would suggest sometimes just not logging on Twitter or at least not really paying attention to kind of the things people say. At the end of the day, you have to make your decisions. You have to back it. EO, in a way, kind of takes away the responsibility from you. And you can always kind of just fall back on that and say, oh, well, look at his effective ownership is very high. And I don't really lose rank if he blanks, which, I mean, I know a lot of people try play safe. But to be honest, I don't know about that. I don't like playing that way. And to be honest, now having said all that, maybe I'll change my captain. Why would you start Watkins over Reguilon? Watkins just doesn't do anything. Well, I don't like Watkins that much, FPL-wise, so fair point. But the reason why I say that is because Grealish is back. I like the fixture, and Spurs are just very, very weird. And I think Newcastle could sneak a goal in there. I know Newcastle are awful, but isn't Wilson supposed to be back soon? So, yeah, I'm not entirely sure about Reguilon. Have 2 free transfers. Do I sell Son for Bruno and get a Chelsea defender for Robertson, or keep Son, get Chelsea defender, maybe Lingard for Soucek? Or do you have any other suggestions? I wouldn't sell Son for Bruno. Although obviously getting the Chelsea defender on top of that looks good, especially for Robertson. Keep Son, get Chelsea defender, and maybe Lingard for Soucek. Yeah, I'd do the second option. Get Lingard for Soucek and get a Chelsea defender. Thoughts on my team: Martinez, Creswell, Digne, Shaw, Rafinha, Bruno, Mahrez, Lingard, Kane, Bamford, Antonio, bench, Pope, Target, Odegaard, Dunk. That looks good. You could arguably start Target over Antonio or someone else, but that team looks solid. Will Jack Harrison play for Leeds, and is he worth a -4? Not for me. I mean, I remember you asked the question about which players are worth a -4 earlier, and I mentioned players, and yeah, not for me, not Jack Harrison. If anything, Bamford, Rafinha, or Dallas, just because I know they're going to start and they're more likely to produce a return. With Jack Harrison, it's a differential. I like that sort of thing, but taking a hit, I'm not so sure. Obviously, it could pay off. So maybe, you know what, I'd say back your gut, because there are times where someone will be like, oh, should I captain Iheanacho? And I'll be like, well, not for me. But end of the day, it is the right decision. So back your gut on that one. But for me, I wouldn't do that. Diaz, Antonio, Lingard, choose one for this week. I'd start Lingard. Rudiger or Aspie, as they are both nailed, and is the extra 1.2 million really worth it for Aspie? For this game week, because of Azpilicueta's record against West Brom, and because of the bonus points and assists and goal potential, I think he is worth that extra 1.2 million. But going forward on a wild card, if you want to kind of invest the money and spread it around and have a lot of premium assets, then yeah, I'd say Rudiger is probably the better choice. But for this game week, I prefer Azpilicueta. Cresswell or Target? For this game week, I'd say Target. Oh yeah, so Partha. Martinez, Dallas, Diaz, Rudiger, Bruno, Salah, Rafinha, Gundogan, Kane, Watkins, Bamford, bench, Pope, Cash, Veltman, Lookman. Have one transfer left. I want Alonso. Interesting. I mean, yeah, what you could do is, if you have enough money, Veltman to Alonso, and you could start him over Watkins or Gundogan. That's what you could do if you really want Alonso, but I'm not sure if you have enough money to do that. So that is a tough one. How I've missed these streams, how I've missed the rush when one of your players scores a goal, or when your heart sinks when one of your clean sheet is wiped. There's no other game like FPL. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, maybe I won't miss it, depending on what happens this week, but we'll wait and see. I mean, with Arsenal, that's the main thing I'm looking at. Arsenal doing well in the Europa League and yeah, in the Premier League as well. We'll wait and see what happens in FPL, but should be good. There's a lot of good assets and good choices this week. So hopefully it is interesting and fun. That's all I'm asking for. Hopefully it's not one of those weeks where everyone looks like they have a good team and the average is like 30, 40 points. Bench Watkins or Antonio? I'd probably, in this instance, bench Antonio, but normally I wouldn't say that. Forster or McCarthy, who do you think will start? I'll be honest, this is so difficult to predict who's going to start there. It's 50-50, I'll be honest. And that one, I'm not sure, so I'm not going to answer that. Okay, I've got Gundogan first bench. I reckon one of Cancelo or Gundogan won't play, so I think I'd be okay either way. By the way, Salah to Bruno for a hit or nah? For a hit is a bit difficult, but he is a great captaincy option this week, Bruno Fernandes. I'd rather have Bruno, even for this game week and going forward. So even if Salah does somehow outperform him, I don't think it's the wrong decision. So yeah, I'd go ahead with that. Thoughts on the team? Martinez, Dallas, Target, Digne, Rafinha, Son, Gundogan, KDB, Bamford, Kane, Watkins. Bench, Pope, Cancelo, Lookman, Aina. I think your bench is fine. You could arguably start Cancelo over someone, but that looks good, to be fair. Best 1 week player? Probably Alonso or Azpilicueta. That's the kind of two that stand out for me. At least from the defense, from the midfield, it's Rafinha. And in attack, it's Kane. That's kind of like the way I'm looking at it. But there is Bruno Fernandes. He could easily do very well. And Son, not enough people are talking about him. He could do very well. Why Azpilicueta instead of Alonso? Because, as I said before, in all the games that they've started together, Alonso's only outperformed him in 2 of them. And one of them was basically because Azpilicueta got a yellow card. And there's even a game where, I think it's against Southampton, where Azpilicueta didn't even keep a clean sheet, got no attacking returns, and still got a bonus point. He's got the most points since Thomas Tuchel has come in. And his record against West Brom, 2 goals and 3 assists, not counting FPL assists, in 12 appearances against the Hawthorns. Well, against the Hawthorns. The Hawthorns is... anyway. But yeah, that's why I picked Azpilicueta. Marcos Alonso, he is a good option, no doubt about it. I'm not disputing that. But just not entirely sure about him. Obviously, as a 1 week punt, Alonso might be better. He is better on paper anyway. But definitely, if it's a long-term asset thing, Azpilicueta definitely wipes the floor with him. He starts every single game. Hopefully he actually doesn't get benched now. Mahrez a good punt? Definitely. Mahrez is always a good punt. The problem with him is predicting when he's going to get those points. But yeah, he's always a good punt. Double up on Chelsea defense with Rudiger and Alonso and bench Watkins. I mean, why not? If not, bench Gundogan if you're not really feeling that. But yeah, that looks good. Obviously, the problem would be is if Alonso doesn't start or if Chelsea lose the clean sheet, that would be disastrous. But yeah, I still think it's good. Yo, what's up? Moura about to bang a hat-trick tomorrow. Well, I hope not, because I do have Son and Kane. But yeah, Lucas has looked pretty decent recently. Doesn't really have that end product, but maybe now he'll do it. Bench Watkins or Antonio? Yeah, I already answered your question, James. Very true. If you stayed on Twitter all week, you would have thought Alonso is essential and has scored 5 goals this season, when in reality he hasn't started in 3 of the last 4 games. Exactly, Dylan. That's the point. So if you look at Twitter, you'd just be like, oh, I need to get Alonso, and you'd be thinking, oh, I need to captain Rafinha or Kane. Like, you definitely have to. But it's not the case. There's so many other options elsewhere, like Son, like even Dallas, Bamford, Bruno. And then when you look at Alonso, they make it seem, I mean, this is not a problem. Alonso could easily be the highest scoring player this week, but is Azpilicueta. There are other options. But yeah, I know there is a lot of hype on Twitter sometimes. And yeah, sometimes you just have to make your own opinion and you have to go your own way. Azpilicueta is higher owned than Alonso, but if you look on Twitter, it would seem like Alonso is owned by 10 or 20% of the game. But yeah. I have a feeling that because Chelsea and Spurs have easier fixtures this week, it may be the case that the best of their assets like Mount and Alonso are rested and players like Bale actually start. Well, yeah, but you look at Spurs and they don't have a Europa League game midweek, so I don't think they're going to play weaker players. And they only have the Carabao Cup final to look forward to, but that's in a few weeks' time. So not entirely sure about that. I think what they're going to try to do is push for that top 4. They could still do it. As for Chelsea, fair enough. They do have Champions League coming up fairly soon, and they have the FA Cup as well in a few weeks. So I get that, but with Spurs, I'm not entirely sure. Stones or Alderweireld? For this game week, I'd say Alderweireld, but yeah, normally I go for Stones. Antonio or Laka, who to bench? Lacazette has scored against Liverpool in the past, but I'd probably start Antonio. Gundogan or Antonio, who to bench? I'd probably bench Antonio from those two, but that's tough. Thoughts on Moura? As I said, he's looked very lively recently, but as an FPL asset, not for me. I have enough money, have 3 million in the bank development to Alonso, but then should I drop Gundogan or Watkins? I mean, for me personally, for this game week, considering all the circumstances, I'd bench Gundogan, but it's up to you. You have to own your decision and just back your gut on that one, because obviously if you think something and then I suggest something and you go with my suggestion and it doesn't turn out right, then that's probably the worst ceiling you can get. So I would bench Gundogan, but I mean, there's no right or wrong there. Captain Kane or Rafinha? If you want to go differential and you're targeting the fixture heavily, then I'd go for Rafinha, but yeah, if you just want the kind of the consistency, the security, then I go for Kane. Stones to a Chelsea defender, if any, who to get from Chelsea? Azpilicueta or Alonso. For a 1 week punt, I'd say Alonso, but overall, Azpilicueta is the standout. Bench 1, Lingard, Jota or Bertrand Traore? I would probably bench, believe it or not, I'd bench Bertrand Traore. Just for the 1 week, as I'm wildcarding next week, would you do the Salah to Bruno for a hit? Yeah, as I said before, Marco, I probably would. But because you're going to wildcard next week anyway, you don't have to. Because obviously, in a way, you might feel like you are obliged to do that because going without Bruno is just kind of disastrous at times. But yeah, I would do it myself. Start 2, Bale, DCL and Lingard. I'd definitely start DCL and I'd probably go for Lingard. Should I do Cancelo to Rudiger and play him for one of the 2 players that you choose? And which player, who would I play him for? I mean, if you can't do any other defender transfer because Cancelo could still do well this week, then yeah, fair enough. And play him for one of the 2 players that you choose. I'd definitely start DCL, so it'd have to be Lingard benched as well. Bench 1, Watkins, Lingard and Gundogan. I'd bench Gundogan in that case. Captain Alonso, I think that's a good one. I mean, I mentioned it earlier. Azpilicueta, Alonso, Dallas, those are the defenders you'd be looking at for captaincy. So yeah, I think it's a good option. Oh, what is this Moura hype? Thoughts on Moura? I got him in. Yeah, as I said before, he's looking lively, but I'm not entirely sure if he's going to get those goals and assists that you want. I'd mainly be looking at Son and Kane for that, but yeah, I mean, he could be a good differential. Why not? Akil says, my team is Martinez, Azpilicueta, Cancelo, Dallas, Bruno, Gundogan, Sterling, Son, DCL, Bamford and Antonio, and benches Meslier, Target and Grealish. Who should I start in the lineup? Ooh, that is tough. I'd start Grealish over either one of Gundogan or Sterling. Up to you who you go for there. And That's tough. I mean, you could go for Target over Antonio. That's what I'd probably do. Who to start, Lingard, Gundogan or Keane? If that's that Keane from Everton. I think Keane is the most likely to not blank, but I hate those kind of things. I'd probably just start Lingard. I somehow convinced Madhav Basu, my mate, to bring more in for Bale. I mean, to be fair, Bale is very unlikely to start, but yeah, fair enough. Captain Bamford or Rafinha? I'd go for Rafinha just because of the recent form, and he's got the assist potential in him as well, which, to be fair, Bamford does have, but Rafinha has that in abundance. He's on set pieces, but Bamford is on penalties, so it's very close. It's almost 50-50. I'd go for Rafinha, though. Start two of Watkins or Gundogan or Salah. I'd start Watkins and Salah. Any inside sources for news on who gets rotated? I'll be honest, I'm not sure. The only kind of thing I've seen, which people seem to believe, is that Werner's going to start against West Brom, but I don't think many people have Werner. Watkins and Salah, yeah. Who should I start? Antonio or Gundogan? I'd start Gundogan probably, but he could be rested. I don't know, though. I mean, if you look at the fixture, then yeah, Antonio's the clear winner, but I don't know. I prefer Gundogan. Soufal or Cancelo? I'd probably go for Cancelo. Watkins and Bamford in for Antonio and Marja. I wouldn't bring in Watkins. I know he has got a good fixture this week. I know Grealish is back. He could do very well. But going forward, I just wouldn't want to have him. So I wouldn't bring Watkins in. As for Bamford, despite the next three fixtures being very bad, and you probably would bench him for those, I would bring him in because this fixture looks very good. Bench Diaz or Trent? I would bench Trent, to be honest. Thanks for the advice, mate. Think I'm going to risk it and stick my guns with Salah. Don't personally think it's worth a hit. Not that I don't value your advice, not at all. No, fair enough. And the good thing about that is that Salah is kind of a differential in a way. So you could keep him this week. He's got good fixtures coming up afterwards. And on a wildcard anyway, you've got it next week. You could always bring Bruno in and have Salah still. So yeah, there's no problem with that. Do I start Struijk or Diaz? You could just start Struijk, and if he doesn't start, Diaz comes in. But I don't think Struijk is going to start, or I'm not sure of it. Should I double up on Chelsea defenders? Well, as I said earlier, yeah, I probably would, if you could. If I had an extra free transfer, believe it or not, I would be getting Alonso in too and doubling up on that Chelsea defence. So I think it's definitely worth it. I wouldn't triple up. I think that's too extreme, but a double up looks very good. Just before the deadline, everyone, check your teams and your benches. Best of luck, and I hope your green arrow is significant to your season this game week. We have now entered the last quarter of the season. Yeah, time has flown, hasn't it? And yeah, we're in April now. And damn, yeah. Good luck to you as well, Dylan. Hopefully you do very well. Guys, do I start Erling Haaland or Mbappe? Ask Can. So this is a UCL fantasy question. Remember, I mean, I keep on saying this. You don't have to bench one of them. What you do when you go on UCL Fantasy, and I can show you this when I do my videos later on in the week, you just look at the fixtures, and anyone who plays on the final day or two, you can put on the bench, and then during the substitution window, you can bring those players on to replace players who have blanked. So there's no need to just be like, oh, should I bench Haaland or Mbappe? You wouldn't want to bench either of them, to be honest. Would pain me so much to get Bruno, and then he'll blank and Salah will score for the first time forever against us. Yeah, I mean, the way I see it, Marco, I mean, if Salah does well, you get the points. If he doesn't, you jinx him. And that's the way I saw it when I had triple Spurs against Arsenal and we won. So, yeah. Would you consider any Chelsea attackers like Mount or Havertz? I would consider them. I would. But with Chelsea, there's a wide range of goals and assists. There's a lot of sources. You don't really have a consistent goal scorer or assister yet. So not exactly sure about that. With Chelsea, I'm mainly looking at the defence: Azpilicueta, Alonso, Mendy, Rudiger. So yeah, but from the attackers, I think those two you mentioned are the standouts, but I wouldn't go for them yet. Surely a KDB bench on the cards today. He's definitely going to blank. Well, we'll have to wait and see. There's no definite. De Bruyne has the quality. If he starts, he can easily damage Leicester. Should I swap in Creswell for Cancelo, Shaw or Dallas? If you really wanted to start Creswell, I'd probably go for either Cancelo or Shaw benched. But yeah, I mean, that looks good anyway. Will Rudiger start? I think he will, Aranya, but I couldn't tell you for sure. You know how Tuchel is, but I do think he will. Leeds defence dodgy in my opinion. True, that is a good point. I mean, I know there's a lot of love for Dallas, but Leeds defence is poor. But the fixture is at home. They are facing Sheffield United. So if they can just keep things tight for this game, yeah, could easily be a very big haul for him. Aina or Kane? Oh, Kane or Keane. I'd probably start Keane this week. I think Villa will score. Yeah, Havertz has looked quite good in that number 9 position. I mean, he is a quality player, but they just haven't unlocked the best out of him yet. Good luck, Dylan, and everyone in the chat. Thank you, Kobe, and likewise to you. Hopefully you do very well. Good luck, Akil. Good luck, Madav. And good luck, Can. And yeah, as you say, hopefully all of your teams deliver this week and we get those green arrows. Can't wait for the Lucas Moura hat-trick. What is this? Gundogan has played a lot in the international break, so he may not start. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. I just pray Stones doesn't pull off a blinder and get a set-piece goal like he does in double game weeks. He is third bench. Same, and I never would think I would do that. But he could be benched too. There is Laporte. So if there's ever a time that Pep can do me a favour, it's if he benches Stones, starts him in the Champions League where I have him, and yeah, everything's hunky-dory. Thank you, Madav, and thank you for joining in. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Marco. And the deadline has passed already, 11 a.m. Damn. Almost my whole team has red fixtures next game week. To be fair, a lot of teams, a lot of highly owned assets have red fixtures. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of difficult. Before, it looked very obvious to just wildcard in 31 in my case, but there is 32, there is 33, even maybe 34. So it's a tough one, but I obviously want to use it. I want to maximize the wild card. But yeah, Game Week 31 is looking very grim for some of our teams. Do you have Twitter? Ask Can. I do. As I always point it out, I'll bring it on the screen now. But if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and smash the like button. Share this video around with anyone who loves FPL. I'd really appreciate it. And comment down below as well if you have any further questions. My Twitter and Instagram are on screen. And it's the same as my YouTube, Dylan_RCM. So follow me on those. I post regularly on those platforms and I engage with all of you. You can send me your teams and just chat about football and FPL. So I really appreciate it. Can't believe I said squeen, but anyway. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. And if you have any last questions or comments, then I'll be answering them. I've seen praying Pep that my players will play, now asking for a favour and hoping my players are benched. This is never going to end well. I'll be honest, just because we really need Pep to do something, I think he's going to do the opposite. He is a troll, isn't he? Found it and dropped a follow. Love the content, bro. Thank you, Can, and hope to see you on more streams in the future. And yeah, I mean, thank you to everyone who has joined in. And this has been a good stream. And there'll be more content coming up with team selection videos, best wildcard team, and there's going to be UCL Fantasy as well. There's going to be the usual team selection and then obviously the deadline stream for that. So stay tuned. Really appreciate everyone who has joined in and have a great week. Enjoy your Easter holidays and I'll see you next time.